Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of PD and PDubs Unscripted. PDubs, good to be with you here.
Hey, great to be with you, PD, back in the studio.
Back in the studio on this very snowy day here.
Yes, finally a little touch of winter came, and but I think in a couple days it'll probably all be melted, huh?
That's fine.
I know you wanted to. Well, I put it out there at our staff meeting before even snow was on the ground. Should we call off?
I called it off. Nobody listened to my
Nobody listened to you.
I mean, like I said, I was ready to text you and Jenny this morning being like at 6:30, hey, these roads are treacherous. I'm staying home.
There wasn't even a flake in the sky yet.
They were treacherous. I let Madison out and I was like, I can't walk out there.
Oh, man. I thought it was going to be another bust, like all this buildup and then nothing.
Well, that's why when I looked out. I was like, oh, this was nothing.
Yeah, well, even like it was about 8:30 out in Algonquin, just itty bitty flakes, and I'm like, really? It was supposed to start at 3.
Right.
What happened?
And then got pushed back.
Yeah.
But
Here we are,
but we're not here to talk about the weather because we're joined by a very special guest here.
A very special guest.
So you want to introduce our special guest?
Yeah, sure. So our special guest is an alumni of our Immanuel Lutheran School. I've known our guest my entire life, and our families have been friends as long as I can remember. And we went to school here at Immanuel with my older brother. And so that also makes you a lifetime member of the church, right? Mm-hmm. And so today we welcome the one and only Cheryl White. How are you, Cheryl?
I'm good. And you guys?
We're doing great. So thanks for being on the show today.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, but, a little nervous here. So
No, nothing to be nervous. Just a conversation.
Mm-hmm. So, Cheryl, you went to Immanuel in, what could I say, like the 70s?
Yes, I graduated in 72.
72. Okay. Well, I graduated a little after that. So I was pretty young when you graduated, but I think I started. I must have been in like 72. Might have been like in first grade or something like that.
Yeah.
So, because, yeah.
How many years were you behind Steve?
2 years behind your brother, Steve. Okay. Yeah. And so I was really good friends with Cheryl's brother. Like, we were always doing things together. And I'd come over Cheryl's maiden name is Carnegie. So I'd come over to the Carnegie household and play pool or ping pong, or we'd play football out in the field or whatever we wanted to do. And, and then we'd come and we'd like, try and invade Cheryl's space, and she was like, "Get out of my bedroom, you don't belong in here." But the one thing I remember about you, Cheryl, and maybe I hope I'm not wrong. I remember, did you have the first Genesis album, with the Abacab on it?
I might have. I don't remember.
Well,
I had so many albums.
I thought you had that, and then because I love that album, and I always attributed my first hearing of that album by being in your room listening because you had it.
Okay.
And so, yeah. So
Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah, like here we would be.
An influencer.
Yeah, you were, like musically. And then I'd come over to the Carnegie household. Sometimes I'd stay overnight on like a Friday night, and we would watch Johnny Carson. Uh-huh. Your parents would love Johnny Carson. Mm-hmm. And
popcorn.
Yes. Everybody loved popcorn in their house, especially your dad, right?
Yeah, and my brother Don. Yeah.
Oh, Don. So, do you remember the story when Donnie came over to our house and I did something to him?
Yes, I've heard that story. I don't know exactly, but I heard about it.
I'll give what I remember. So Donnie was Cheryl's older brother.
Yeah, one of my older brothers.
How many years? 2?
Almost 3.
Almost 3.
Yeah.
So he was hanging out like with
Vern.
But they all, like Vern and Dave and you, well, I don't know if you were there. You must not have been there. But Donnie was there in our basement. And I used to have these boxing gloves. And I had 2 pair. And so Donnie's like, well, give me a pair of gloves. Come on, let's box. So I was boxing with him. He's like, come on, go ahead, hit me.
And how much of an age difference is there?
About, maybe 10 years. 10 years.
Probably,
Yeah, I don't even know. Maybe I was like 7, I don't know, 6. And so I hauled off with a left. I popped him right in the eye. And he's like, oh, my eye. And I thought, oh, you're joking. Cut it out. Well, I gave him a black eye. And he goes, what? And he's like, looks to my brother, your brother gave me a black eye. And he goes, well, you told him to hit you. So that's the only guy in the world that I've ever given a black eye to. Yeah.
Okay.
At least he told you to hit him.
He totally gave me permission.
Yeah. He would do that. I can see him doing that.
Yeah, he was egging me on. And so
Oh, yeah.
but anyway.
He was very good at that.
But we didn't come to reminisce about, the Schilfs and the Carnegies. With Cheryl and I being alumni of Immanuel, very often we share a lot of the fun old stories and the old memories that kind of make Immanuel, right? And so here's one. I was over at the Lutheran Life Village just yesterday preaching to some residents, and I was meeting some ladies in the front row, and where are you from, Pastor? I'm like, Immanuel Palatine. And the one lady goes, Immanuel Palatine? I used to be the assistant secretary of the church at Immanuel Palatine years ago. I go, well, what's your name? And she told me her name, and I didn't recognize her name. And she goes, well, yeah, the office was the White House. Is the White House still there?
Oh,
and I go,
okay.
no. I said, no, the White House isn't there anymore. It used to be like this little White House that was probably right outside my current office.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's where the church office was. So you come out of the school and the church building and go over to this house. And it was white, so they called it the White House. And she goes, well, the secretary back then was Connie.
Connie Keel.
And I go, Connie Keel? And she goes, yes, you know Connie Keel. I go, yeah, I know Connie and George Keel. They used to bowl with my parents, Oh, man. Oh, I had such great times. I worked there for 6 years in the church office.
Really?
Yeah, her name was Lynn, and I won't say her last name.
Okay.
But she goes, oh, the White House is no longer standing. I'm like, no, that means my typewriter's probably gone. I go, yeah, I'm sorry, so.
That's too funny.
Yeah, but
worried about her typewriter.
I know. God bless her. But there was something about that White House that you spent a lot of time as a youth there, right?
Yes.
And now, can you tell us a little bit about that place?
That's where we had our youth group place. It was in the basement, and we called the youth group back then the Hole. WHOLE. The Hole. So whenever we'd say, Mom, Dad, we're going to the Hole. But,
and it wasn't a very big basement, was it?
No, because it's, a small Cape Cod, 2-bedroom Cape Cod. It was the basement of that. And we had it painted blue and yellow and green and one other color stripes all up and down the walls.
That does kind of scream 70s.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't it?
The only thing missing would be the wood panel, like the fake wood panel.
Well, part of it was wood panel, and we painted over it. But we had the old-fashioned pot machines with the bottles. You put them
I don't remember that. I have very vague memories. I remember dropping Dave off to go to the Hole, and I was never allowed to go in there because you're too young,
Yep.
And so,
man, those mean older kids.
I know the older siblings, they just didn't let you have any fun. So like, was it just like couches and things in there? So you had the pot machine. What else was there?
Machine. We had ping pong tables. We had, oh gosh, my age is showing me. What's the pool with the little pole?
Bumper pool.
Bumper pool. Yeah, bumper pool tables and.
How about foosball?
Oh, no, I don't think that was in existence back then.
We didn't have foosball.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I think foosball was the 80s. It came on in the 80s.
Okay, maybe, because I remember we had a foosball thing growing up. We had a foosball table.
Yeah. Yeah. But just ping pong and bumper pools. About the only things we had. And then, of course, record players to play our music.
Oh, yeah. So you're playing 45s, slapping down the 45s, the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
We actually had albums back
Oh, you did?
then.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Sorry. That's right. You had Genesis and the Cab. That's right.
We had 45s too, but we were more into the albums. So you didn't have to change this.
Did you have good albums like Led Zeppelin?
I didn't personally, no.
Do you remember any of the songs that you guys would listen to down there regularly?
Oh gosh. Beatles, of course.
Okay.
We were very
wide
yeah.
in your selection.
A lot of Carole King and
Oh,
James
wow.
Taylor.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Neil Diamond?
No, not necessarily.
September morn. That's my Neil Diamond
I thought
impersonation.
Sweet Caroline.
Sweet Caroline,
Oh.
yeah.
Ba, ba, ba. So who was the youth leader back then?
Oh, God. We had parents that chaperoned.
Oh,
We didn't have a
okay.
youth leader.
Okay.
One guy, he was there a lot. I can picture him,
Okay.
but I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But sometimes parents would come and chaperone.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'd be there once a week,
Okay.
or if we was nice out, we'd be out in the parking lot playing basketball and remember the tetherball,
Oh, yeah.
Balls.
Yeah.
playing basketball and tetherball.
There was tetherball poles, like, coming out of the boiler room, those steps back there.
Yep.
And then you turn left to go to door 12, which is the gymnasium. There were tetherball two of them, right?
Yeah.
Not many places seem to have tetherball
I
anymore.
know, I miss tetherball.
Well, if you ever want to come up to the confirmation retreat at Lake Geneva, there's tetherball right in front of our house that we stay at.
Nice.
So the kids usually play tetherball.
And the thing about the tetherball is, like, it was kind of hard.
It was.
And then if somebody got that thing whipping around the pole, you didn't want to stop it because, like,
It hurt.
It hurt. That's right. Yes. Yeah, and I can't. There were no point system. It was just like if you got the ball all the way around,
you got the
won.
point.
You won. Yeah.
I can't remember. Didn't you guys talk? Maybe one of you guys talked about playing kickball in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of in the corner
Where the snow pile is.
Yeah, that would be home plate for us.
That's where we played softball. Now, see, we always play kickball where the gym is.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's right, because that was partially asphalt, and then after the church was knocked down, it was grass, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you remember some of the kids you used to hang out with at the hole? Like, are you still friends with some of them?
Oh, gosh. Probably. Well, of course, Johnny and David, Karen, Sharon Henricks. Remember Sharon
Oh,
Henricks?
yeah, I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was always there because I hung around with her, even though she was like 5 years older than me. We hung around
Oh,
together.
very cool.
Ingrid,
Yep.
Jeff.
So it was a pretty tight group.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
like, the people that you're naming, Pastor, they're very good friends still.
Okay.
Like, Karen is your
knew
best
Karen.
friend, right?
Right.
And so my brother Dave and your cousin Johnny were really good friends. And then Jeff became the best man to my brother Dave. And Jeff married Ingrid. And so, I mean, there you go. It was a tight community.
Right. Everybody always is amazing when I say how long Karen and I have known each other.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of the Midwest and being brought up in this tight-knit school back then.
Well, and give us an idea of, like, the size of the school, like the, enrollment. Like, how big was your class? Let's say your eighth grade class. Do you remember?
Eighth grade class, we had 32.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah,
Good
it was
size.
big. Most of our classes were pretty big back then, and I would say 99.3% of all the classes were members of the church.
Okay.
We'd have maybe one, maybe two people that weren't members of the church in each class.
That's interesting because now it's almost a 50-50 split.
Yeah,
it's pretty
it's
close.
flipped.
Yeah. And so we've become more of an outreach to,
Right.
people who aren't Lutheran, but maybe other denominations or not
Just
even.
Christian, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. And so when you were going to school, there was a pretty good sized band, right?
Yes, and I was part of that.
You were part of it. And all right, now Pastor, what instrument, if you're looking at Cheryl, what instrument do you think she played?
I can't remember if I've actually heard this before, but I'm gonna guess flute.
Correct.
Oh,
So I don't know if
okay.
I've heard her talk about that before or
Okay.
just my guess.
Yeah.
I was thinking piccolo. Is that a flute?
Well,
That's
it's
like a
it's
flute, it's a
in the
smaller
same-
flute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or clarinet.
Clarinet.
And that's all woodwinds, right?
Yeah, Donnie played clarinet.
Oh, Donnie did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we were a good sized band. We were a good band. We made an album or two.
Did you really?
Which I
Get
still
out of
ha-
here.
Which I still have.
I had no idea.
Is it a
Yeah.
record on record? Or?
On
on a vinyl?
33 and a third.
Sure.
Yep. Yep.
A track?
Well, all right. Here, let's get the young guy. Why do they call it a 33 and a third? Or why do they call it a 45?
Because it's the width of the diameter of it.
That's a good answer, but I'm sorry.
Fine, I'm going home.
You're wrong.
I'm going home.
So it is the rotations per minute that the disc would go around on the record player.
I didn't even know that.
You didn't know
Passed it
that?
up. No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Okay.
Wow, making me feel like look at the young guy, the one who grows up with CDs, not knowing what.
You can pay Cheryl now. Nice save. Nice save. She's so kind.
But nowadays, vinyls are making a comeback.
They are. Yeah.
Yep. Dolly Parton is actually going to put her last album out on a vinyl now.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, that's what I gave my niece for Christmas this year was the greatest hits of Queen on vinyl.
Ooh, nice.
So
that's
and
a good present. Way to go.
No, well, that was the one she listed, and I felt okay buying that over like a Taylor Swift or Harry Styles album. I'm like, I can support you listening to Queen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know she got a few other ones. So vinyls are making a comeback.
Yeah, that's cool. And there used to be a 78 speed
Yes.
too.
78.
So you guys cut this album. How many songs were on the album? Do you remember?
Probably 10.
10. That's
10
a
or
lot.
12. Yeah, yeah. We did a lot of recording on a reel to reel.
Oh,
the
yes.
big old reel to reel things.
Uh-huh.
Recorded a lot of us rehearsing and playing, and then they took that tape over and made it into a vinyl. Dale Elmshweiser was the band conductor.
I was just going to ask you that, Mr. Elmshweiser.
Yeah,
I always thought that was a very unique name.
Very German.
Yeah.
But I don't know where he took it, but yeah. I mean, and some recordings were like band contests we were in and a whole bunch of different. I'll have to bring it in.
Yeah, you
sometime.
should. Now,
You
Mr.
got a record player. You have to.
I do.
You have to.
I'll bring
it
in my record player.
Okay.
And then we'll have to pair it up somehow, so I'll need Pastor's help.
We'll have some sweet.
now that I've insulted his intelligence on RPMs.
Well, do you really need me? Because we know music just comes out of my office when I'm not there.
That's true.
Oh yeah.
That was the craziest day.
That was so weird.
Oh, for our listeners, one day Pastor is on his day off, and he has
a Google Home
a
Mini.
Google Home or like an Alexa, and all of a sudden there's this music coming out of his office, and it was like rocking, man.
Well, it was one by Metallica.
Yeah, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I thought, did Pastor sneak in? What is he listening to? And we opened up the door, and
It was just playing.
It was weird.
It was
weird.
Church mice.
yeah. So Mr. Elmshweiser, he was like a really revered band instructor, right? I mean, he was here many
absolutely.
years, wasn't he?
Many years. He was also the choir instructor then.
He was.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think he played the organ for the church.
Mr. Steinbach.
But this is before
Steinbach. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember. But yeah.
Did you have to wear uniforms?
That
Just the
look.
look on her face. I wish you could see that.
This is why we need
She
the
was
video
so
podcast.
happy. Yes.
It wasn't too bad, but of course, the girls had to wear skirts back then.
Oh, yeah.
So it was the black skirt and black shoes, a white blouse, and then we had this blue blazer with a gold
I thought there was a
bobcat,
gold something. I didn't know what it.
bobcat emblem on the
Really?
one shoulder. Yeah. And then all our band medals that we won, we'd pin on the blazer.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact, they might even still have some here. I
they
remember
probably do in our costume.
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
The big sousaphone
Yeah.
that's in there. That's from back
Is
when
it
I was
really?
in band.
I
Yeah,
had no idea.
yeah.
Was it like navy blue?
Yes.
Okay.
Navy blue.
Yeah, because I remember our colors used to be blue and gold. Yeah. Not this
Not the Bobcat blue, and
Not
now
blue
we're
and white or
now
blue
we're,
and black
Now
or
we're Carolina blue.
Carolina blue. So
Carolina blue. It's the first time.
Well,
hearing.
that's the one that's
it's from the college, North
Yeah.
Carolina.
Okay.
so yeah, that's kind of been adopted to be known as Carolina blue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I remember seeing pictures in the directory of the school directory of a lot of people in the band.
It was huge. It was huge. It was the big band was from 5th through 8th grade.
Okay.
And then they had a smaller band, beginner band, which was 4th grade and 5th grade who were just beginning.
Okay.
But yeah, we marched in parades. That was a lot of fun. Of course, the street's not there anymore, but it's a street that actually goes through where our church office is.
Oh yeah, Lincoln, wasn't it? Yeah.
That used to go all the way through, and that's where we would practice marching.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. It would be the street. Was it like right next to where our courtyard is right now? Would it be that close to the building, or was it over a little bit?
It might just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, because probably when you were going to school, there was the 1957 building, our current elementary,
Yeah.
and then something attached more on the Plum Grove side, right?
Right.
The older
old 4-room
school.
classroom school.
I can't remember
Yeah.
when that was built. but
I don't know, but my dad went there.
he did.
He went to,
Wow.
in that part of the building.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was. We didn't have a gym.
Right.
So remember,
I do.
It was always in the cafeteria
Yeah.
or out in the parking lot.
So, Pastor, our cafeteria back in our day was the Learning Center.
Okay,
That was the cafeteria.
library,
The
yeah.
library. And then the other side of the hallway was where we would do gym,
Wow.
where the preschool classes are.
Mm-hmm.
And there was just this open space, and we would do square dancing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did you have to write a square dance? Do you remember ever having to write?
To write one? No, we just had to do them. And
Okay.
you know the face you gave about band uniforms? That's what everybody was like,
isn't that like every like elementary school's kids' face when they have to do square dancing
yeah,
in
like,
PE?
are you kidding me?
Well, we actually, when I was in 8th grade, Mr. Gottschalk, he actually made us write our own square dance.
Wow.
And then we had to perform them in front of the PTL.
Wow.
So our parents were there and
Oh,
stuff.
that's something.
Yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned Mr. Gottschalk. He was your 8th grade teacher.
Yeah, my challenge, that'll be
Okay.
a good time for a challenge. Can
Okay.
you name every single teacher you had from kindergarten through 8th grade?
Wow. It's funny you asked that because I was thinking about who was my 2nd grade teacher. Because, okay, my kindergarten teacher was Mrs. Golden.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then my 1st grade teacher was Miss Lindert.
Okay, I remember her.
And then I'm like, who is my 2nd grade teacher? And I think her name was Mrs. Koenig, Koenig. And then I had so now 3rd grade, I had, this is where I get fuzzy, maybe Mrs. James, who was Mrs. Pape.
Pape.
Yeah, she got remarried then because her husband had passed. So is that 3rd grade? I'm making
Yeah,
Pastor
third.
go to sleep here.
No, that's
4th
third.
grade. 4th grade was Miss Ranke. 5th grade was Mr. Whitliff. 6th grade was Mr. Lorenz. 7th grade, Mrs. Rusnick. 8th grade, Mr. Gottschalk.
Very good.
How about
Very
you?
good. Now, you said Miss Ranke. Didn't she get married and became Mrs. Israel?
I don't know. Yeah, it was Miss Ranky.
Okay. I think
Maybe she did get married.
I think she got married and became Mrs. Israel.
Israel.
Okay. Kindergarten had Mrs. Van Hoosier and Mrs. Edith. And the reason we called her Mrs. Edith was because her last name was Gudenkantz. And she didn't think kindergartners could
Oh,
pronounce
wow.
that very
How
well.
do you say it? Gudenkantz.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thank you.
That's a good German name.
We had a lot of German names back then. All right. First grade, I had a Mrs. Meyer, and not
Okay.
the Mrs. Meyer we know today. Second grade, I had Miss Wrights. Third grade, I had Mrs. Golden. Fourth grade, I had Mrs. Israel. That's why I'm thinking she may have gotten married in between
Yeah.
the ones you had. Fifth grade was Mr. Elmshäuser. Sixth grade was Mr. Leader.
Ah.
Seventh grade was Mr. Steinbach. And eighth grade was Mr. Gottschalk.
Wow. And Mr. Gottschalk must have been pretty new to the ministry. He was probably pretty young then.
Yeah, he probably was.
Probably one of his, I think Immanuel was maybe his first call. I don't know.
That I don't know, but
Yeah.
I know his wife, Ardell, Mrs. Gottschalk, taught here too.
Yeah. Well, you said Mr. Leader. We had his son Eric in our class, probably in kindergarten. And, when kids line up to go to the lunch line, or he always had to be the leader because
The line leader?
He was the line leader because my name's Leader. And, that caused...
Are you bitter?
I'm not bitter at all. I never got to be in the
Cheryl,
lead.
No.
we might have to ask you to leave. We might have to do a little counseling session for him right now.
Well, you're talking about my eighth grade boyfriend, and sixth grade boyfriend,
Oh.
because Eric was my boyfriend when I was
Oh,
in
he
sixth
was.
grade.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Leader even signed my yearbook
No
to
kidding.
Eric's girlfriend.
Uh-huh. Wow.
So, what, 6-7 years age difference
Yeah,
there?
yeah. And I forgot one teacher, and maybe Mrs. Koenig wasn't my second grade teacher. Mr. Shermer. Do you remember Mr.
I
Shermer?
don't remember him.
He was cool. He would walk around like he had a 3-foot yardstick, and he would just smack it on your desk to wake you up if you were sleeping or whatever.
Sounds like something Tom Lorenz would do.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, Mr. Lorenz was pretty cool. He, talk about albums, he had us bring in our favorite album. And he had these humongous stereo speakers up on the wall, and he had a stereo in there, and we'd have to bring in our favorite album and play a song, but we had to write out all the words, and then we'd play it, and everybody would, we'd mimeograph.
Oh,
And smell it. Yeah. Oh, that blue ink. It was good stuff. Wow, man. People came out of the copy room with smiles. But we had to explain what the lyrics meant. And I, as I grew older, I'm like, Mr. Lorenz must have just been dying, like a bunch of sixth graders trying to interpret lyrics to rock and roll.
That's too funny.
Well, it reminds me, there's an old, we were talking a little SNL before we recorded. There's an SNL skit. I want to say it's, what's Fraser's brother's name in real life? Is it David Hyde Pierce?
I was going to say Miles.
Yeah.
No, David Hyde Pierce, I think. Well, it's like Chris Farley, Adam Sandler, and that like early 90s group. And like, they're like, oh, David Hyde Pierce is like, oh, you have a great poem you wrote. And he gives it, I think it's Farley or Adam Sandler. And it's like lyrics to like "Love in an Elevator" by Aerosmith, and he's like, "Oh, that was great, great, great." The other teacher comes in after all the students, and he was like, "Yeah, I had another Aerosmith, another Van Halen," and he's like, he knows all the poems that they recited were just like rock songs.
Yeah.
I can remember in the 8th grade room, the record that would always be playing was Inagata Davida.
Iron Butterfly.
Yep, Iron Butterfly.
Inagata Davida, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
that's a song.
with the drum solo.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the full like 20-minute version song.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh man. So what's the one memory that comes to mind about your time at Immanuel School? Like,
Oh gosh, there's
so many, right?
So many. Just the fun. We were all had fun together.
mm-hmm.
I would say probably the biggest memory would be when I was in 7th grade.
Okay, what happened?
That's when they tore down the old church.
Oh, I was in kindergarten then.
Yeah, and our classroom faced the parking lot. So I
Okay.
think that whole day we didn't do any work. We just sat and watched the wrecking ball.
Well, how would they expect you to
go
do any
back
work?
and forth, back and forth.
We did the same thing in kindergarten.
Yeah.
I have that etched in my mind, that ball hitting
The
the
building.
brick and it just
Yeah.
crumbling. I thought, wow,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, so
Now, I can't remember. I know you've talked about, but what the one teacher used to always say, like a song or something to recite. Wasn't there a song or something?
oh, that was Mr. Lorenz, the song of the 6th grade class, and it was gibberish. I go, away, away with rum by gum, rum by gum, rum by gum, away, away with rum by gum, the song of the 6th grade class. They're coming, our brave little band. On the right side of heaven, we do take our stand. Can you imagine the sorrowful sight? And I don't remember the last part. It was some
That-
silly,
Wow,
of
I
a man
never heard-
eating cookies until he, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, he loved his chocolate chip cookies.
He had a guitar, and he would like make up songs with his guitar.
And he named everything in his classroom. The garbage can, the pencil sharpener.
Yeah,
What, Fred was the garbage can?
think Fred
or
was the garbage can.
George and
yeah. Somebody's got to empty Fred.
yeah.
You know, like, oh, that meant go empty out the garbage. So, but yeah, but you're right. Yeah, it's the friendships. And I think whoever's listening to this, if, you know, like whoever went to school at Immanuel, whatever decade, probably would say the same thing. I mean,
Oh,
that seems to
yeah.
be like a running theme here
Yeah.
among students.
So what about you? What's your favorite? What's your memory when you look back? Same question you asked Cheryl.
I would agree with Cheryl. There's so many. My 8th grade year was the blizzard of '79, and you talk about snow mounds, and that's the year the gym was just built. So the snow mound was up against that gym wall, and that thing. I mean, there's a picture in our yearbook about it, but it seemed like it was 15 feet high. It was enormous. And so we would spend tons of gym time or recess time out there.
On that. Were you still allowed to play King of the Hill?
Yes, we were.
Okay,
And in
we
fact,
were
one of the
too.
pictures has Billy Hannes pushing Rick Keel, and you see Rick's body just sliding down the hill, and Billy. I mean, he's like caught busted in the act, you know.
I don't think you can play that game anymore.
No,
it's not allowed.
No, it's not.
We used to be able to throw snowballs too.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny stuff. But
And current students at Immanuel and former 8th graders, they can thank PDubs here for their Six Flags trip.
yeah, I was president of my 8th grade class, and you know, remember in 8th grade, we're going to Springfield. You know, the big Springfield trip. And, you know, we would hear classes before us, oh, it was so boring. You know, going to Springfield, blah, blah, blah. And so I got elected as the president of our class, all 14 of us. And that was the year Great America got built.
Okay.
And I said, well, if I'm president, we're all going to go to we're not going to go to Springfield. We're going to go to Great America. So I organized a petition with our class, and we petitioned the teachers, and next thing I know, we're going to Great America.
Nice.
So it was cool.
My class never went to Springfield either.
Oh, no?
Did you have a trip?
No.
Did you?
I don't know the reason why, because back then the Springfield trips, I think, were overnighters, weren't they?
Oh, they must have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think they trust our class for an overnighter. So
Rascals.
we actually went to Wisconsin Dells on our
Oh,
8th grade
hey,
trip.
now that's
a good
cool.
trip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is cool. But yeah, lots of memories. You know, the basketball teams were not what they are today, and the uniforms. You talk about band uniforms. The basketball uniforms were.
Yeah.
Oh dear Lord! It was like
Ours were like puffy with elastic around here, so they poofed out.
yeah, and they were
like,
shiny.
Yeah.
The shorts were like shiny gold.
Was it like Larry Bird style?
Yes, Larry Bird style, and then these jerseys that were blue. So it was like blue tops and gold lettering that said ILS, and when you had a number, and then these baggy gold shorts. That was like my 5th grade year. But by the time I got to 8th grade, we had new uniforms.
Well, the shorter ones are coming back a little bit for basketball.
Yeah, I suppose.
Which I'm like, I don't know. I still like the 90s, like to the knees.
Who was the cook when you were here?
When I was here, it was Mrs. Butke.
Okay.
And I can picture her, but I can't remember.
Isn't that who we called Flossie?
Yeah, that
Okay.
Mrs. Butke is who we called Flossie.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who the other one was, but she kind of reminded me of Mrs. Glaw, but I don't think it was her.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, we had Flossie, and you did not complain about the food. Otherwise, you got the wrath of Flossie.
Yeah, and you took everything.
Yeah.
Where nowadays you only have to take like 3 things or whatever. But yeah.
All those things that you remember, because I know last night in confirmation we were talking about a la carte, and the kids are like, remember when we used to have a la carte in school? Which I remember that, like, where they would get, like, they could get, like, a sweet or something.
Yeah, or a bag of chips, or,
And they were joking because you couldn't get the a la carte unless everything was off your plate. And so then they said, yeah, you know, sometimes some of us would be the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, where if I wasn't getting a la carte, I would just tell everybody to put all their food on my plate, so it looked like I didn't eat everything, and so that person then could go get their a la carte.
Oh, that's funny.
I'm sure we've all done that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cheat the system a little bit.
Yeah. But do you remember, because we didn't have a gym with our basketball teams and stuff, we'd either have to rent out Paddock School or Marion Jordan to have our practices.
Okay. I think when I came around, it was just Paddock.
Okay.
And that was a small gym in and of itself too.
Yeah. And that's where we would have our winter intramurals.
Oh, yeah. Intramurals, yeah.
Basketball and floor hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Wow. What a trip down memory lane.
A lot of good memories that you guys have at your time here at Immanuel.
Yeah.
Probably feels like just yesterday graduating from here as an 8th grader.
Well,
sometimes it does.
Yeah. So it was really fun times, and like Cheryl said, you know, you make friends, and in her case, you know, lifelong friends.
Lifelong friends, yeah.
That's for sure. And I think I probably know. Did you have friends from other grades, like a grade up or a grade behind?
Of course.
Yeah, we did too.
Yeah.
So like the grade above me, I knew really well, and then also Steve's grade, because Steve's class and my cousin was in his class, Sue.
Okay.
And so it was like this thing. You hung out with each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Not so much, you know, with the class above you as you got older, like 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah, they're too cool for you.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But good times. So PD, thanks for hanging in there with us as we reminisce.
Yeah, you know, I was like, maybe I should name all my teachers. I had K through.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's see here. Mrs. McCabe was kindergarten. Mrs. Cooker was 1st grade. Mrs. Santos was 2nd. Mrs. Miller, I believe, was 3rd grade. Mrs. Beebe was 4th grade. Mrs. Foley was 5th grade. 6th grade, I can't remember. That's where I'm losing my middle school, because you had multiple teachers.
Okay.
But I know, like, in middle school, we had a Mrs. Powell, who was, like, our science teacher. Mr. King was, like, history. Mr. Reese was our band director. And Mr. Stiles, I can't remember. I think Stiles was first, then Reese. And then I can't remember, like, the other middle school. Like, it's mainly Mrs. Powell, Mr. King. Yeah, that's about all I can remember.
What school did you go to?
Algonquin Road School for elementary, which is in Foxshore Grove there, and then Foxshore Grove Junior High, I think that's all it's called. Very creative for our names.
So you could just walk over there 10 steps and you're in the school?
Well, pretty much for elementary school, Algonquin Road School is right behind my parents' house. Like, there's a hill, and the hill at the bottom of the hill is the elementary school I went to.
All right, were you ever tardy?
No, 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 no,
You better not have
no.
You had to walk in 3 feet snow to get there.
Yeah.
Just walk down, cut through our
Up the
bushes.
hill.
Yep, down the hill through the bushes, but then in middle school, since that was on the other side of the tracks, because that's on the ski jump side of the Fox River Grove.
Oh, okay.
It was okay. That's my bus. Okay, my bus is backing out. Time to head to the bus stop, so I didn't have to get there when they say get there 10, 15 minutes early.
Yeah.
It would just be standing in our kitchen looking out the bay window and be like, okay, my bus is leaving. Time to go to Alec and Derek's house, which was across the street, which is where our bus stop was.
Oh, how cool.
So that made it nice. But yeah, elementary school is right behind my house, my parents' house, and K through 5 there. And now it's all different because I know they've redone the front entry, and I don't think they have the trailers that I went to because we had 2 classrooms that were on trailers, and the middle school's gotten a lot bigger.
Yeah.
So all the Fox River Grove schools.
So one final question. Were you ever left at school by your parents? Like maybe you did an after school activity and they were supposed to pick you up and they forgot about you?
No, I was not. But
it's a very specific question.
I'm sure you were.
This sounds like something that happened to you.
Well, we had, that was the thing of all, the after-school activities and the nighttime stuff. In our neighborhood, there was so many of us. Like the Andersons,
right,
the
yeah.
Krauses,
You could get rides.
the Bowards. We would one week one parent drove, the next week the next parent drove. But no, I was never
left.
Never left. But
How about you, PD?
Sorry to say I did that to Sarah.
You did it to Sarah. Oh, I can't wait till she hears this podcast. She's gonna give you an earful. All right, what happened?
Well, that was then when she was going to the public school.
Okay.
I'm not used to them having an early day.
Yeah. Okay.
Where they get out of school early.
So how long did she have to wait?
Oh, only a half hour.
Oh, okay. Well, to a kid, that's a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's because she called me in a half hour. But she wasn't the only one. There were a couple of other students sitting out on the front step.
Yeah, I think mine was, I was in band, and band practice was over, and so I always just sat out in the parking lot, and, people, hey, you got a ride home? Yeah, I got my parents are coming, somebody's coming, and, once you got out of the school after band, the whole building was locked. Mm-hmm. Nobody was around, and so I remember sitting on the parking blocks, waiting, and it's getting darker and darker outside, and there were no cell phones.
No.
I couldn't go back in the building to make a call. I didn't have coins to go to the payphone because I think there was a payphone by Jewel, and so I'm like, I'm just gonna wait here. And I remember, and I was so dumb. I lived a mile away, right? You could have walked. I could have walked home.
Mile and a half, yeah.
I probably could have walked home and back twice, maybe 3 times, but I stayed there. And I remember seeing these headlights come into the parking lot, and it was my mom. And I go, what happened? She goes, we forgot you had band practice today. We were wondering. We thought you were over at Steve's. So I'm like, yeah, I could have just walked home and nobody would have been the wiser. It was not that long of a walk.
Yeah.
But no, because with elementary school being right behind the house, that was
not a thing.
And junior high, I was always on the bus coming home. But Cheryl, you were talking about Sarah when you left her, and now you were talking about how she called. That reminded me of what my brother used to do when he played basketball in middle school and early on in high school, calling collect. But just saying, pick me up, and then hanging up so you didn't get the charge. Is that what Sarah did?
No, she didn't, because back then I think the teacher just let him use the phones. But my brother Don would do that. After gymnastic practice, he would put the dime in, and it would call and say, hello, pick me up, and hang
and then he'd get his dime back.
Get his dime back, yep.
Yep. That's the way to...
The struggles kids don't know about these days.
See?
Call and collect. And
that's what I'm glad you talked about, how he called and everything, because all that's so different now.
Oh, it is. It is.
Now the kids are like, can I use my phone to call my parents?
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I suppose we should probably wrap up. Thanks, everybody, for listening. But, Cheryl, thank you for a great time going down memory lane.
Thanks. Yeah, and like I said, there's so many more memories, but we could sit here for 3 hours.
Yeah, right.
Well, now that you've been on our show, you're a recurring guest, and anytime we ask, you got to come back as a recurring guest.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, we hope that you've enjoyed this trip down Immanuel's memory lane, and hope you have a blessed day. Thanks for joining us.